Probably the crowning achievement in my mentor, my friend, Joe Baum's long career was the Rainbow Room on top of what was the RCA building where radio was invented. And it's now called the GE building because that's the primary tenant. On top of that building, it was a 1934 supper club, which in 1985, Joe got the contract to restore to its former glory. And it was a project of love for Joe, and he took 2 years and a lot of money to do it, hiring some of the grandchildren of the original artisans who worked on that project back in the 30s. I wanted to be part of this in a very big way. I was working for Joe at another place, and I saw Benny Goodman come up to the bar and talk to Joe about being the opening band leader. I really wanted, I could taste it, I wanted it so bad. So I prepared an idea to Joe. Let's do a menu of all the restaurants that would have been in the shadow of the RCA building, the Copa, the Stork Club, all these great places, the Colony on Fifth Avenue. We'll do a menu item from their cocktail menu, and we'll create this beautiful cocktail menu. And Joe said, I like the idea. I've done it before, but show me what you mean. He'd done everything before. When I say he'd done everything before, he had pisco sours and caipirinis on his menu at La Fonda del Sol in 1959. So here we go. I'm putting together this menu, and I'm looking around town for menus to see what's happening. There was nothing happening in 1986 in menus around Manhattan. There were only places I could find menus were the Plaza and the Waldorf. They had them in a drawer for Europeans who needed something to read from when they came to order at the bar, and they hardly used them anyway. So it was a sort of down period for the cocktail. I call it the age of the one-glass bar, where everything was served in a goblet, and I mean that. They didn't even use martini glasses. So I put together this menu, and it was pretty. We had graphics by Milton Glaser, who created New York Magazine. I mean, it was very pretty. I put 26 drinks on the menu. 6 months later, the bartenders were ready to basically hang me from the nearest light post. They were hard drinks, Ramos Fizzes, Sazeracs, drinks that hadn't been done in years in this country, pisco sours. So I cut it down to 16, realizing my error. Production becomes important. Can you produce these drinks well? Can you make them work? Can you get them out our bar was full all the time. We had 124 seats in the lounge. It was hard to get these hard drinks out fast. Well, we figured it out over a year how to do that. But menus really today are back in such a big way at the bar. Every little corner saloon now has a cocktail menu, and it's a great thing. When we finally opened the Rainbow Room, I hired a whole bunch of bartenders, most of whom stayed for the duration of the 12 years that I was there. A few left. And I did, in fact, have to hire a couple of bartenders along the way. And I was always saddened when that bartender arrived the first day at the job. We had this wonderful relationship with the Culinary Institute of America where we would bring their interns into the kitchen, and those interns would walk in. They'd unfold their tools and in a very significant place so everybody could see, because they were proud of them. They worked 2, 3, 4 years for those tools and how to use those tools. Of course, they spent the rest of the day peeling potatoes, but they wanted people to see those tools. And then I'd hire the bartender. He comes on premise, first day for work, with nothing. Not even a paring knife. The knife behind the bar, the serrated one you used to open the boxes, he's going to make his garnish with that? I mean, I was so disheartened. I said, what's wrong with our profession where a guy shows up with no tools? So I would say to these bartenders, go back to the culinary side of this profession. Go into the kitchen. Take a cooking course. I don't care. Knife handling, sauces, whatever. Learn what it's like to be a professional. Learn what it's like to have a craft. So, I mean, look at the tools that I travel. This is ridiculous. I mean, I travel, of course, with basically the chef's knife of the bartending profession, the Boston shaker. I travel with strainers that go with that Boston shaker, the julep strainer, the Hawthorne strainer, because there are two parts and they don't work too well separate. I have other strainers. I have tea strainers for when I have raspberries, when I get little seeds out. I have all different sizes. I have larger strainers, too, when I do batches of cocktails. I've got a strawberry huller because I like to use strawberries. I got a cherry pitter because I like to use cherries in my drinks. I got knives. Forget knives. I got every kind of knife known to man. Everything from a channel knife so I can make a spiral lemon peel to a chef's knife so I can cut a watermelon. You are a professional. You got tools. I got muddlers to mash up fruit. I got muddlers of every size and description. I got a big fat one so I can do big batches of stuff muddled. And you can muddle with your hands by putting prep gloves on if you're making batches. I got kitchen shears to give haircuts to pineapples once in a while. I got things to crack. I got tongs. You're at the bar. Somebody wants an extra ice cube, another olive. What are you going to do? Take your spoon out and go and try to get it in? No. You pick a tong up and you put it in there. I mean, tools. This is what our profession is all about. Tools are so important.
Obviously, tools. We need them behind the bar. We start with the Boston Shaker. Dale calls it the chef's knife of the bar. Great way to think about it, because really if you have these two pieces, you can do just about anything you want to do. This is where most drinks start and end. Obviously, we're going to use that building things in the glass, shaking with the tin. We've got our two strainers. We've got our Hawthorne strainer. We've got our julep strainer. Obviously, these were designed to work with the Hawthorne. The springs fit nicely over the metal tin on the Boston Shaker, and the julep strainer works with the glass. So if we're doing, depending on what we're doing, we'll use the different strainers for different items. Just a regular bar spoon. Obviously, we use that as a measure. We obviously use it for stir. Some people like to give a little bend to their spoon so that when you hit the bottom of the glass, you're ready to gives an easy stir around the outside. That's up to you. You can do whatever you want with your spoon. Got to have a muddler. This is a nice long. Sometimes you see those short ones that end up in bars that don't really do much good. Obviously, you need to have the length to get down in the glass. You want to be able to work with it. Plus, you'll see it's just natural wood, no veneer or varnish on that. We don't want that in our cocktails. Doesn't taste very good. Knives. Obviously, knives is huge. We all need to know knives. We need to have a lot of knives. And actually, this is great because it's got the deep channel so you can do your spiral twists and things like that. It also has a small little knife on the other side, so if you need to do a fast twist or something like that, or some dials to flame, it'll work for that. Obviously, if we're getting into bigger fruits and things like that, you're going to have to look at getting a paring knife, maybe a chef's knife. So look into doing more knives. You need to have a full set of knives to have a complete bar kit. So go out and do a little research and pick up some knives. Knife shopping is fun. All right, jiggers. Everybody talks about the difference between free pouring and jigger pouring. We'll talk a lot about, in the course of what we talk about on a daily basis, we talk a lot about measuring and balance and how cocktails need to have recipes not only as a guideline, but to create those precise recipes so that each and every ingredient becomes a part of that cocktail. It doesn't overshine, doesn't get covered up, so we want to be able to measure and have precise measurements. Obviously, you've got the 1 ounce over the ½ ounce, you got the 1½ ounce over 3/4. Between those two, you can make any measurements that you want. You can do the math yourself. These are your tools. You will have to show an understanding of what each tool does. That's going to be part of the examination when you come in and do the Bar Smarts live with us. So it doesn't have to be this exact set, but make sure you bring this set with you to do your practical exam, and let's make some cocktails.